Hello everyone and welcome back to Clear Creek Solutions hydrology education videos. In today's video we're going to cover the top 10 green cities in the world. Not in any particular order, it's not a ranking, but what is generally considered to be the top 10 green cities in the entire world. We did a previous video on what green cities are on our YouTube channel. We've discussed a lot about LID elements, green cities, green innovations. You can see all those videos on our YouTube channel. But what is a green city? I'll cover that real quick before we get to the list. Green cities or eco-cities are urban areas that encourage sustainable developments, the natural world, and overall well-being of the city's inhabitants. So green cities are not just concerned with the economic use of a city or the practical use of the city, but also take into account the feelings of the people there, how well they live. Is it sustainable? Is it sustainable for the natural world? And can it be beneficial to the environment as a whole? That's a consideration when a green city is being designed, and in a lot of people's opinions, these 10 cities do a great job of that. So let's get to the list here of the top 10 green cities, no particular order. We're starting off with number 10, Sydney, Australia. You can see some photos here, located on the continent of Oceania. What makes Sydney unique exactly? Well, a unique feature is Sydney places a heavy emphasis on green cover, with projections of 40% of the city to be covered by green cover by the year 2050. Green cover improves air quality, health and well-being, and reduces stormwater pollution and improves the overall aesthetic appearance of a city. What are some additional green features? Well, there's a population of about 5.3 million people in Sydney, Australia. It has a humid subtropical climate. And its first feature, it was deemed carbon neutral by the country of Australia in 2011. The city is looking to electrify all its local transportation projects. It utilizes renewable energy from local wind farms, and Sydney incorporates natural wetlands into the city landscape, which helps preserve many local animal species. Here's a quick timeline of the city's development. In 1788, settlements began, and then in 1901, it became the state's capital, and massive shipping and railroad construction hub emerged. Then in the 1950s, high-rise developments began, and then by 2050, they're hoping to have 40% of the city covered by green cover. So that is Sydney, Australia. Then we have a number 9, Helsinki, Finland. You can see some photos here. And so what exactly makes Helsinki unique? Well, Finland is heavily focused on the circular economy with an emphasis on maximizing the use of materials. The country is amongst the highest rates of recycling waste. So Finland is very concerned with this circular economy feature, reusing materials, using them to the best of our abilities, and conserving natural resources. There's about 630,000 people in the city of Helsinki, and its climate is continental subarctic, being very close to the Arctic Circle and up in northern Europe. Finland is one of the main pioneers of green infrastructure, and its energy efficiency and water use are heavily regulated by the government to minimize the ecological footprint of the city. Finland has an extensive network of protective areas for natural habitats, plants, and animals, and Finland works to enhance biodiversity in local forests. So here's how Helsinki has improved its infrastructure over time. In 1550, the city is recognized to be founded. In 1952, the city grows in prominence and even hosts the Olympic Games. Then in 1969, operation of their electric transit begins, and then by 2030, the city aims to be carbon neutral. Now, number 8 is Seattle, Washington in the United States, located in North America, the Pacific Northwest. You can see some pictures there of the city. What exactly makes Seattle unique? With a specific focus on sustainable waste practices, recycling has been mandatory in Seattle since 2009, and green infrastructure is encouraged with LID elements such as bioretention and green roofs widely used in stormwater projects. It has a population of about 750,000 people and has a temperate climate with wet winters and dry summers. Its first feature is plastic straws have been banned in the city since 2018. Seattle City Light is the first utility system powered 100% by renewable energy. The city offers over 1,500 charging stations for electric vehicles, and Seattle promotes sustainable transportation as well as local sustainable businesses. In 1851, settlements began in the city of Seattle, and in 1911, Seattle experienced a boom in seafaring industries, particularly during World War I. Then in the 1990s, several large tech companies began popping up in the Seattle area, and then heading into the 2000s, the city begins to emphasize green practices, including recycling, renewable energy, and sustainable transportation. Now, number 7 is Cuiaba, Brazil, located in South America. You can see some beautiful pictures here of the city. And what makes Cuiaba unique? Curitiba pioneered BRT use, or bus rapid transfer. This service satisfies up to 80% of the population's transportation needs. Curitiba has 52 meters squared of green space per person. This is the greatest ratio of green space for any developed urban area in the world. Curitiba has waste for cash programs where trash can be acquired for certain produce items. 70% of Curitiba's waste is recycled, and fields of green areas and grass are used to mitigate large-scale floods. There's about 1.77 million people in the city of Curitiba, and its climate is humid subtropical highland climate. Curitiba has improved its infrastructure over time. With the 1940s, a comprehensive city plan was constructed. In 2008, Curitiba's GDP reached the fourth largest in the entire country of Brazil. In 2007, it ranked third on the list of top 15 greenest cities in the world. And by 2025, 154 square miles of green area has been reached. Now, number 6 is Singapore, located in the city nation of Singapore. A unique feature is Singapore has many beautiful green infrastructure areas, including the Oasis Hotel and Gardens by the Bay by Wilkinson Ivory. Singapore focused on making green infrastructure aesthetically pleasing to add cultural value to the city and community. There's about 5.64 million people in the city of Singapore and has a tropical rainforest climate. Singapore has many green structures, including green roofs, solar parks, and natural light. The crowning achievement is the Oasis Hotel downtown, which has over 1,700 planter boxes in its design. Singapore intends to spend $10 million on water treatment infrastructure upgrades, and Singapore has an extensive train system with 6 lines and 300 bus routes in operation. In 1965, Singapore became an independent republic, and in 1967, the government introduced its vision for Garden City to combat deforestation in the region. In 2017, 100 hectares of skyrise greenery has been constructed, and by 2030, it aims for 200 hectares of skyrise greenery in the entire city. Now, number 5 is Oslo, Norway, once again located in Northern Europe. What makes Oslo unique is Oslo actually discussed a total and complete car ban in the city's downtown. However, the initiative faced significant backlash and has been stalled, but was brought forth as a legislative proposition. There's about 635,000 people in Oslo with a subarctic climate. Oslo has many options for mass transit. This includes biofuel buses, battery-powered electric vehicles, and electric trams. Oslo is very cycling and pedestrian friendly, with numerous bike lanes, walking spaces, and car-free parks. Norway has the highest sustainable energy supply due to hydroelectric power, and Oslo is a compact city with high-density residential areas mixed with extra land available for green uses. In the 1840s, modern industry began in Oslo. In 2008, the Oslo Opera House was constructed. In 2019, Oslo is named Europe's green capital, and 2030 intends to reduce greenhouse gas emissions to 95% of the 1990s decade levels. Now let's go to number 4, which is Reykjavik, Iceland. You can see the photos here. What exactly makes Reykjavik unique? Well, Iceland's method of energy production has made the nation and city virtually energy independent. It relies on the volcanic eruptions and the geothermal energy that comes from that to produce the city's energy. There's about 123,000 people in Reykjavik, Iceland, and has a climate of subpolar oceanic with its very northern location. Reykjavik has pioneered the use of geothermal power for citywide district heating. This heat is supplied by none other than heat from volcanic activity, which supplies up to 90%. Reykjavik is the global center for renewable energy research, and private companies, public entities, universities, and interested parties fund the research of renewable energy methods. In 1945, Reykjavik experienced a boom in infrastructure during and post-World War II. In the 1950s, private cars became common as cities expanded to the suburbs. In the 2000s, the Nordic Tiger era brought about a new phase in economic boom. And in 2050, Reykjavik plans to be fossil fuel free by that year. Let's look at number 3, Vancouver, Canada, which is located in North America. What makes Vancouver unique? Well, Vancouver is an eco-density city with a major focus on Vancouver's residential infrastructure design. This means the city design must be as eco-friendly as possible. Feature 1, Vancouver's green infrastructure sector has grown exponentially in the last decade. This includes local food, green building design, green technology, and alternative energy. Over 95% of Vancouver's energy supplied is provided through renewable energy in 2023. In order to solve traffic issues, Vancouver has encouraged the use of mass transit and highly decentralized commuting. There's about 675,000 people in the city of Vancouver and has a temperate oceanic climate in the Pacific Northwest. In 1897, the British Columbia Electric Railway began operation of urban train and transit systems. In In the 1970s, construction freeways began to dwindle and it is now prohibited by the city council. Vancouver in 2020 is named one of the greenest cities in the world, and by 2040, the Zero Waste Initiative is passed, which includes bans on plastic straws and bottle caps. This is intended to reach full effect by 2040. And number 2 is Portland, Oregon, USA, also located in the Pacific Northwest. What makes Portland unique is the Pearl District, which is an example of the 20-minute neighborhood, a concept designed in the area. Residents can access all places within 20 minutes, including schools, work, grocery stores, parks, and leisure activities in the downtown. There's about 635,000 people in Portland, Oregon, with a temperate, wet winters, dry summer climate. The Sustainable Stormwater Management Plan intends to minimize impervious surfaces and increase on-site stormwater treatment. Half of Portland's power comes from renewable sources, and 60% of all waste is composed and treated locally. A quarter of the workforce commutes by bike or a carpool arrangement, and over 200 green roofs cover buildings on Portland's rooftops. In 1969, initiatives began to restrain urban growth in the Portland region. In the 1980s, Portland became the first city to enact a plan to combat carbon emissions. In the 90s, technology industries began to emerge in the region in tandem with Seattle, and in the 2000s, Portland achieves the most urban parks per capita in America. Now let's talk about number 1, Copenhagen, Denmark, which was universally listed as number 1 on the many lists that I was able to find. The unique feature of Copenhagen is a majority of Copenhagen's energy comes from on and offshore wind farms, so they're very focused on wind-generated energy. There's about 600,000 people in Copenhagen, Denmark, with a relatively temperate climate. Copenhagen requires all new buildings to conform to the green building standards. This includes zero carbon emission construction sites and striving to reduce overall energy consumption. Feature 3, waste to energy fuel is a unique aspect of Copenhagen's energy grid. An official municipal policy requires all citizens be able to reach a park on foot in less than 15 minutes. In 1947, the Urban Development Finger Plan is introduced for increased construction of housing and businesses. In 2001, large offshore wind farm construction began, and in 2014, is ranked as the top green city by the GGEI, or the Global Green Economy Index. And by 2025, the city aims to be carbon neutral by this year through waste incineration and biomass energy production. So that's an overview of the top 10 green cities in the entire world. If you have any questions, leave it in a comment down below. These are some of the sources we referenced. And we thank you all for watching. Anyways, we will see you guys next time.